So growing up as a Catholic, there was a little bit of wine at church, just a little bit of wine, and they give you a cookie, which really wasn't a really great cookie. It was kind of dry. And I was thinking, wouldn't it be great if instead of a little wine, they gave you a beer and like some Oreos? I think that would be terrific. That didn't work out well for the Catholic Church, but it might work out for Jerry Herships. Right. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me on, John.
All right, so explain your church. You're a Methodist.
That's right.
You're ordained.
Yes.
You have a flock.
Yep.
Is that the best way to put it?
That sure is.
You minister to them.
Yep.
You talk with them. You have services.
That's right.
If I wanted to go to your service,
right,
where would I go?
It depends on what Monday night. We have afterhoursdenver.org is our website. We have it listed. We're at a different...
After Hours. And you understand that was the same thing that Playboy had.
You know
the TV
what?
show was Playboy After Hours.
That's why we're .org and not .com. It's a very different website. Okay. We gather at a different bar in downtown Denver, and we float around every Monday night at 7 o'clock. And so the first Monday we're at one place, the second Monday of the month we're at another. And we say we're a floating crap game for Jesus. We show up at a different place, and we knock out a bunch of food to hand out to the homeless, and then I talk for a little bit, and then we give them the chance to go, he could be full of it. Let's talk about this. And then they talk, and then we find out how their week was, and I tell them go home, and they don't leave. So it's usually about 2 hours. Yeah.
So in other words, I remember it in the Catholic Church, service, and then sometimes a little reception down in the basement.
Sure.
Where you have lemonade and some cookies.
Right.
So basically here the little refreshments happen during the service.
During the service.
And instead of lemonade and cookies, it's
Jameson.
It's shots of Jaeger and hot wings.
We're not a big Jaeger, but Jameson has sent us a thank you letter or two. So they're very pleased. So my grandmother's born in Belfast. I grew up Irish Catholic, Mass 6 days a week. So I'm in Detroit. So I know well of what you speak. And we really have merged those things together to recognize that.
Why? All right. The average, other than it sounds like a kick.
Yeah.
Why?
Because
that you can't find a place to do it. And this is
because people watch Cops and they recognize me. So I mean that's probably honestly because I think there's a lot of people that don't have a problem with God, but really struggle with traditional church format. And really want to have those I was a bartender for 10 years.
What do you mean struggle with God but don't like the church format?
Well, they don't struggle with God. They're fine with God, but they struggle with the church format. A lot of folks have a hard time, and it's understandable with the dogma, with the rules, with the organized religion piece of it. But they really don't have a hard time with the idea of a higher power, of a deity, of a God, and wanting to connect to that in some way. But for whatever reason, for these particular folks, that just leaves them cold. And so they want to try to find a spot where can I still have these conversations? Am I even allowed to struggle with the stuff that I'm struggling with without getting tapped down? And I
remember as a kid enjoying the exercise part of the Mass, which is, you sit, kneel, stand, sit, kneel, stand, and rest.
Absolutely.
And rest.
Yep. Genuflect. Don't forget Genuflect.
Yeah, right.
First time I did that in a Methodist church, didn't go over well. They didn't know what was happening. Yeah.
The other one was there was a part of the Mass where you shake hands with the people around you.
Yes.
And as a little kid, I loathed it. For some reason, it was just like
a lot of adults do too.
Christ would be with you, and you
Peace be with you. Yeah.
And so you're serving a different flock.
Yeah, our flock is.
Is this like a 2-drink minimum kind of church?
No, but I will tell you that the first bar we were ever at, the owner said, he goes, so it was one of the Irish pubs, and he goes, so will they eat and drink during the service? And I said, yeah. And we had like 80 people show up, and I will tell you, bar owners find Jesus real quick when you bring in 80 people.
They find Jesus real quick.
On a Monday night, they're like, hallelujah, come anytime you want. So.
All right, and Monday night because it's slow for a bar?
Absolutely. That's like I said, I bartended 10 years, and I knew they could use the revenue and we could use the space. So we have no overhead. There's no building we have to pay. There's no mortgage. There's no rent. We go in, we give them business. We have a space to do our thing, and they get a pop on Mondays. So it really has become a win-win for both of them. Yeah.
Why are all your locations a Hooters? I've always wondered.
Now, John, you know that's not true. I have the locations. But.
Well, actually, do you encourage people to drop in?
Oh, absolutely, all the time. In fact, we have people. In fact, we buy your first drink. So if you're a first-time visitor, your first round's on us. So yeah.
Welcome to Jesus. First one's on us.
Welcome to Jesus. Here, have a Guinness. That's exactly it.
First one's free. That's how. That's how it always works. First one's free.
Yep, it's a gateway drug. We are a gateway drug to Christianity. But
all right. So and I get it that people want who are not comfortable with the structure.
Right.
There's some who find real comfort in the ancientness of religion. The older the physical church building is, the better for them.
I'm one of them. I'm actually, growing up with Mass and with church and all that, that's sort of an embedded theology. I may not agree with the Catholic Church, but there's a comfort in that sort of ancient ritual and practice. I wasn't called to do that.
I never got that. I never got that. Matter of fact, the idea that, and I get it. Here's a church been around for 2,000 years.
Right.
It's a pretty long institution.
Right. Yeah.
They got the same zip code. That's pretty impressive.
Right.
And so I understand people touch this, and it brings them back to that. And I think the same way that somebody touches the Torah, and it brings them back even farther.
Yes.
Yeah, and that never really calculated for me. Instead of looking back, I've always kind of looked the other direction. And so I was like, why the stained glass? I just never got the stained glass. It seemed oppressive. I don't know what it was.
Right. Well, you know what? And that's a big piece of my new book is that,
excuse me, do you have a book?
As a matter of fact, John, I do. I'm glad you mentioned that. It's right there. Rogue Saints, Spirituality for Good-Hearted Heathens. There's a lot of folks that want to connect to God, but much like what you just said, that's almost cookie cutter what I hear come out of their mouth. They're like, that other stuff just doesn't ring true for me. But I still want to do good. I still want to change the world.
Tell me about Rogue Saints.
Yeah. So it's a group of people that fall into the category of, look, I can't do Mass or organized church the same way you said. And by the way, that works for millions of people, and God bless them. This book isn't for them. This book is for the folks that go, I still want to connect to something else. I know there's something bigger, and I want to do good. I don't know how without the church. And so there's interviews with a lot of folks that connect to God through all kinds of practice.
Are your services a two-way communication?
Absolutely.
Because going to Mass, there's somebody up on high, and the sermon part I found to be pretty small.
Right.
Whereas the ritual part was a lot of it, and ritual means very little to me.
Right.
Which is why I get along so well with people who are so conservative.
Right.
And but the sermon part, that's where you want to yell back and go, no, you are so wrong on that.
Right. Which is why, I'll talk for about 15 minutes, and I wasn't kidding. I'll usually throw to the tables and say, look, talk to people at your tables for about 10, 15 minutes. I can go in the other room, check my email, but talk and find out, because some of you are going to go, man, that was spot on. Others are going to go, he's full of it. That doesn't, because I think we are in a time now where the idea of, especially me, like a straight old middle-aged white guy going, okay, sit down, shut up, and you may learn something. I think those days are over. I think now it's, I'll give you here's my take on it, and what's your take? And, the vast majority, 90% of the people that go are between 25 and 35. And so there's a huge factor. If we didn't do that piece, they wouldn't show. I'm absolutely certain they need to have a voice. And so that after hours allows for the kibitz and the banter, and allows Q&A, and allows that chit chat, which didn't exist when I grew up in Detroit in the Catholic Church.
So do you have the band there, and do you have a choir?
No.
Some woman who only knows three chords on an acoustic guitar?
We do not have those.
Michael Rowe, the Boda?
Nope. They ran out the door screaming when they first saw us. We have my iPod, which is mostly 60 soul and some rock and a few other things that will be named later.
All right. Obvious questions.
Yeah.
How many times have you had to toss somebody out of your church?
Yeah.
How many times did you need to call a bouncer if you're
right?
If there's no limit at the church.
I think the assumption is always that. I think the assumption is, oh man, they're doing church in a bar, they're going to get hammered. The reality is all these people could drink any other night of the week. They don't need so I don't know if in 9 years we've ever done that.
What about the thing that attracts me the most about church? Take out God for a second.
Sure.
It is it's a community support network.
Yes.
And that there is a sociological need
Yes.
for churches. And now that government has taken over what churches used to do, welfare and taking care of people and taking, all those things, whatever it is, adoption, that now government has it all. The role of church now is very different, but still people need to belong to a community that, hey, Betty is sick this weekend.
Yeah.
I'll bring her food on Monday. Can you do it on Tuesday?
Right.
So does that happen at after hours, or is it more like, Betty, where the hell's Betty? I don't know.
Who's Betty?
Who's Betty?
Right.
She said she'd buy this round.
Yeah. What's beautiful is we talk about after hours. We say we do two things well. We serve the community and we are a community. And these folks that gather together love each other dearly, and they're sort of the island of misfit toy. I mean, there's cops and welders and strippers and truck drivers. They're folks that never felt like they had a community in a faith dynamic, and so now they come together and they've got this. And I think that's the glue. I mean, it's almost like you've read the book. I mean, literally the first half of it is find your tribe. Like, find a community and then find a way to connect to something bigger. And in the end, serve. Like, it's not all about me. It's gotta be about beyond me. And so when you have those three things, when you've got a community and you figure out a way to serve something bigger, whatever that is, and you've got people to do it with, to serve, then I think you're a lot better off than prior to those three things. You're right. We are in a time when we are starving for community. And I personally believe After Hours could be a model that could be in any city in the nation.
So basically what I'm hearing is you've started a cult.
Well, sure, you would think that. That's the way you would look at it.
How are you profiting from this cult?
Well, you know what? Much like we tell people all the time.
Actually, let me be serious about it for a second. A church usually has walls and expenses and other things, and they have to pay a salary for a minister, priest, deacon, whatever it is, to do that.
And the secretary, and the music director, and the youth director, right.
And so you pass around the plate. I'm assuming you pass around the plate as well.
We have a beer pitcher. We have a beer pitcher that we put up front, and not kidding. That really is what we do. But the vast majority of people that give to After, all our folks give, but we're a small community. We're like between 20 and 30 people. I mean, it's not a big group.
Is this your living?
This is my living. This is my living. But what we've discovered is the traditional model that you just talked about, the model that you and I grew up with, pass the plate down the row, we have the beer pitcher that's there. But we also follow nonprofit models like the United Way. People don't give the United Way because, hey, you know what? We believe the carpets should be a different color. They believe in the cause, and people believe in it.
Real fast, we got just a couple seconds. People want to get involved, they want to learn more, where do they go? AfterHoursDenver.org, and they can reach me through email right there. My email is goddoesn't.suck at Gmail, so they can shoot me an email directly to that and hear more. Jerry can't tell you how much I enjoyed this. This was terrific. Thank you so much. Listen, for me at KHOW, buy me a drink sometime, read me in the Post. We'll see you next week.